Hi class. Today I'm going to do a quick lesson on subtracting fractions, and hopefully this will help you with today's lesson. The first thing that I want to go over with you are some vocabulary terms for subtraction. So these are the terms that you may hear, and when you hear them, you know that you're going to have to subtract. The first one is find the difference. If you ever hear find the difference, that's a subtraction problem. The second term is what is left. If they're asking you what is left, that's your key. Those are your clue words to tell you that this is a subtraction problem. Okay? Now, the first thing I want to go over with you is I'm going to show you an example of a subtraction problem. So, if I have 6/10 minus 3/10, what does that equal? Well, what you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go right across and you're going to just subtract your numerators. So my numerators, of course, we know are the top number on our fraction. So I'm going to say 6 minus 3. Well, what does that equal? Well, I know 6 minus 3 equals 3. I'm going to write that down. Now, the same, when you're subtracting fractions, it's the same as adding fractions. The denominator always stays the same. You never, ever, ever subtract the denominators. It stays the same. So I'm just going to move the 10 over because that's telling you how many equal parts there were. There were 10 equal parts, and that doesn't change. So our answer for this problem is 3/10. Now I'm going to show you another example. You may have, and you're going to come across word problems, okay? And an example of this would be, I'll read a problem for you and I'll go over it with you. Ellen divides a piece of fabric into 18 equal sections, okay? As soon as you hear that those are the equal sections, those are the total parts. There are 18 sections. So that right away, that you know that that has to be your denominator because the total part, the total of what the parts are cut into is going to be your denominator. So I know that that's a denominator. Now, the next part of the question was, then she cuts 6 of the sections to make placemats. What fraction of the fabric is left? Well, I heard my clue word there is left, so I know that this is a subtraction problem. I know that 18, so I'm going to write this out. I know that 18 is my denominator because they told me, that is the number of equal sections. So I'm going to write that as my denominator. It said in the problem that she cut off 6 of the sections. So she took away 6, okay? All right. Now this here, that's going to be what I'm starting with, and what I'm starting with is my whole. So my whole is always going to be 18 out of 18. That's my whole. So I have 18 out of 18, which is, we know is 1, and that's the whole. So we have 18 out of 18 minus 6/18. That's how you would write this problem out. Well, now I'm going to subtract my numerators. 18 minus 6 equals what? Right, you're right, it's 12. So I'm going to write 12 here. And then I never, ever, ever subtract my denominator. That stays the same, 18. Now, when you go to look on a test, they're not going to have 12/18 as the answer. You're going to have to simplify this. And your clue is, when you look at 12 and you look at 18, you see that 12 ends with a 2 and 18 ends with an 8. And you should know right away, those are even numbers. So if it's an even number, it's divisible by 2, so it can be simplified. Now, some of you might say, well, I know they're also divisible by 6, and they are. But if you don't know that, you know for sure that this is divisible by 2. So I say go with what you know, go with what's easy. So if you don't recognize right away that this is divisible by 6, don't worry about it. You know it's divisible by 2, so just go ahead and do that. So let's do that, because you want to make it easy for yourself. So I'm going to divide the numerator and the denominator both by 2, okay? And remember I said it's the opposite, the inverse of division is multiplication. So I can say, what number times 2 gives me 12? Well, I know that that's 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then I can say, what number times 2 gives me 18? And I know that's 9. So when I'm looking at this, I'm like, Now you have to really think here. Is this in its lowest form? Well, if you think of your 3 times tables, I know 3 times 2 is 6, and I know 3 times 3 is 9. So this is not in lowest terms. It can be simplified some more. I know that I can divide this by 3. And when I do that, what number times 3 gives me 6? Well, I know that that's 2. And then I say, what number times 3 gives me 9? I know that that's 3. Now, this is definitely, you have a 2 there, this is definitely in lowest terms. So my answer for this problem is 2/3. Okay? So I hope, boys and girls, that this helps you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Bye.